So now I will be showing you how to thread the machine. I'm putting my thread on the spool pin. If you are using a small thread, you can put it on your spool pin like this, but if you're using a bigger sized thread, you can just put it down on the floor somewhere behind the machine, and then you make sure the thread is hanging on the spool pin like this. And then from there I would wind it across this little tension, and from there it goes into the ring like this, and from there it goes into the ring like this, and then from there I pass it through the tension disc before I then take it into the thread take up. There's a hole right here that you can pass your thread through, and then from the thread take up I will hang it in this ring. Then I can pass my thread into the needle. Then now I'm going to eject the bobbin. So now you can see the bobbin has thread in it already, but just for the purpose of those who do not know how to thread the bobbin, I will show you now. But when you want to thread your bobbin, please make sure that your thread is not in the needle. If you pedal the machine with the thread in the needle, it's going to get stuck beneath the plate. So now I want to show you how to fill your bobbin with thread the manual way, because not every machine has a bobbin winder. Then wind your thread with your hand on the bobbin just a little bit, and then when you are sure that it is firm enough, hold your thread facing you. Hold your thread facing you like this, and then grab a spool pin or a screwdriver, whatever you have that can go into the bobbin like this. So I'm using my spool pin, and I will just insert it inside, and I will place it right on the wheel. Then after placing it on the wheel, you can begin to pedal your machine. You can see that it is moving now. And then make sure you hold your thread firm to control the pace of the movement of the thread. And then continue to wheel your machine till your bobbin is full. So now I'm placing the bobbin back into the bobbin case. Some call this shuttle. Then inserting the thread into the opening and hanging it beneath the plate tension. And then I will insert it back into the machine. So now that I have my bobbin filled with thread, if I move the machine just a little bit and the needle goes down, it goes down to pick the bobbin thread. So now you can see the bobbin thread. Now I have 2 threads to run my seam. So to begin stitching, run both threads behind the presser foot. So now I will run a stitch. I'm just going to run a straight stitch. Remember, before you begin sewing, you have to press down the foot using the lever behind it. And then now that the foot is pressed down, you can begin to sew. So I'm just going to sew a straight line. And there you have it. This is the front and this is the back. You can see the white thread on the back, and then you can see the red thread on the front. So let me mention 2 things you will hear me say a lot in this training. If I ask you to press open your seam, it means you should open your seam like this. You press it open just like this. If I say you should press to side, it means you press your seam together to the side like this. Press to side and press open. So let me show you the work of a seam ripper. This is a seam ripper, and if you want to rip out your seam, probably there's an error on the stitch, you just have to nip the thread like this, insert and nip, insert and nip. Then by so doing, you will realize that the thread would be easier to pull out of the fabric, and then you can just lose your thread easily. And that is a work of a seam ripper. So now I'm going to show you the work of the stitch regulator. If you move your regulator down, all the way down, it's going to give you a longer stitch length. So let's see this, a longer stitch length. But if you move your regulator all the way up, if you move it up, it's going to give you a smaller stitch length. Let's just sew, then I will show you the difference. If you can see this well, you will notice that the stitch length when I began is longer than the stitch length when I was ending the seam line. And also with the stitch regulator, you can back stitch the beginning of your seam and then the end of your seam to avoid it from ripping off. As you can see, now that I have not back stitched my seam, it is easy to just pull the thread out. When you make 1 or 2 stitches, you can reverse by moving up the stitch regulator, and then you take it back down to continue your seam. And then also when you're almost ending on the edge of the seam line, you will do the same, reverse and then take it back down. Now that I reversed the beginning and end of my seam, it will be difficult for the seam to rip out. As you can see, if I pull the thread now, it is not ripping off the seam. Also on the end of the seam line, if I rip off the thread, it is not ripping off the seam. So that is the work of a stitch regulator.